All right, we should be recording. You're a little blurry. Let's see if you come back here. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, good. Hi,
Yes.
guys. My name is Brianna Jaynes. I am the founder of Breaking Chains, the Whitney Project, an organization dedicated to spreading awareness about addiction, trauma, and everything in between. So today I have Brittany Lynch on our show today. She is going to tell you a little bit about herself. She is also in recovery, and she would like to give you some insight on what she is in recovery from and basically how she deals with it and a lot of her coping mechanisms, what she has found in her own program, and what works for her. So I'm going to start by introducing you. Hi, Brittany. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. I have been a little bit sick. We were planning to do this, and I was kind of going to put it off because I wasn't feeling really well. And then you had some things come up as well, but somehow the universe brought us together. So I feel like that the timing is right, and we're supposed to be doing this tonight. So thank
No.
you for the invite. Thank you for reaching out when you did, because I have actually this weekend I've been going through a purge myself, with releasing some of the outdated energy around like codependency, which is what I'm recovering from. And so it's been a very taxing, exhausting weekend for me, on top of feeling sick and on top of packing and getting ready to move. So when you reached
Yeah.
out to me, I was like, I don't know if the timing is right for this, but very quickly, like the universe is like, actually, the timing is perfect for this. So you need to be.
Right, I know. Sometimes like things like, because I was going to go up and see my friend who wasn't doing good, and I was like, I think I'm going to do this first because it would be a drive, and like, I have a lot going on. I know I've had a long day, but I definitely have been thinking about you all week. I'm like, I need to get this girl on my show, and it's like you kept coming into my brain all week for whatever reason. And I know I don't know you too well, but I think some connections just happen because they're meant to happen. I think that obviously everyone we meet is meant to be in our path, but some of them are more like twisted and contorted to meet at certain times versus other ones. So yeah, definitely glad to have you on. So how old are you and where are you from?
I am 37 and I'm currently living in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but I'm from outside of Atlanta, Covington, Georgia, and I'm in the
Really?
process of moving back there.
Okay, yeah, my family's from there. That's I went down there to go on that show. I went on that 0 to 30 show, and my uncle lives actually like 45 minutes from there. So
Oh,
that's how we stayed down there that night with him. So it was nice to go down there. I think we drove through Tennessee too. I've never been to Tennessee, and we drove through there from whatever reason we went that way. But yeah, 37. Well, you look great for your age. And you're definitely not older, but I was going to guess like 22, 23, so we'll go with that, right? Um People keep telling me I look 30. I'm like, well, I'll go with that too. I'd rather look older than younger. I always used to get upset because I look so young. I would take my makeup off, and all the people at the nursing home would be like, "You look like you're too young to work here." I'm like, "Leave me alone." But all right, so tell me a little bit about what you are in recovery from and how that works for you.
yeah. So I am recovering from codependency.
Mhm.
So I was kind of my family dynamic is very rooted in substance addiction.
Mhm.
My dad was an addict, and my siblings have kind of developed that same struggle as well. And I feel like that codependency is almost like a different expression of the same disease or dysfunction.
It is.
And so that is really kind of how where my brother and my sister, kind of took it on, through the substance abuse. Um, and I've abused substances in the past myself. I
Mhm.
never really developed that addiction to where I couldn't put it aside and move on with my life, like they haven't. I don't use or abuse substances now at all.
Good.
But I was the middle child, and I had a very strong attachment and bond with my dad, um, which, like I said, was an addict. And I don't know if that bond had anything to do with me developing that codependency rather than like a substance abuse addiction. Um,
Mhm.
or if it had to do with me being a middle child. I mean, there's so many different variables, and I'm not sure why it, developed that way. But my dad and I, from the time I was born, we bonded very, very quickly, and we were very, very close. And he always told me that I was very special. And I just, from an early age, just kind of took it upon myself to be this caretaker for him. Everything that he needed, like I just wanted to be there and do that for him. So like I would make his coffee, and I would scratch his back, and brush his hair, and anything that I could do to be there with him and to be pleasing him and making him happy. Like that's where I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to do, because we had
Mhm.
a bond that way. And so when, with his addiction and the dysfunction and the things that kind of came into our reality because of that, I screaming thing, but I wasn't really sure how to.
You're good on this end.
Oh my goodness, I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh, you were fine over here.
Oh, okay, something on my screen like went crazy for a minute. Sorry
Oh
about that.
yeah, yeah, mine's fine.
Um, yeah, and so with the when the addiction kind of came into play and the dysfunction started happening within our family unit, I was always defending him. Like I saw what was happening. I saw that it was not healthy. I saw that it wasn't a good thing. I saw the chaos. I saw the fighting. I saw the, the drunkenness, and I, but I still was like in my mind, because I idolized him like I did, it didn't matter to me. It was like he's still perfect in my sight. And so it kind of created this like conflict within me as to maybe like what a true healthy loving connection is supposed to look like. And so I took it on as my responsibility to always, because I saw how, people viewed him and people looked at him because of his struggles. And I didn't ever want him to feel like that he wasn't good enough, or that he wasn't loved, or that he wasn't valuable. So I kind of took it on as a personal responsibility to make him know, let him know always that he was special to me.
Right.
And so that I think subconsciously, I didn't consciously know what was being ingrained into my psyche at the time, but I was developing this internal belief system that my value and my worth as a person in a
Yeah.
loving
Yeah.
connection was dependent upon me making him feel worthy, and me rescuing him and saving him from his chaos and from his inner turmoil, and finding his inability to find his own peace. I took that on as my role.
Right.
And really just recently, through my own healing and recovery process, that I realized that that's what I was doing the whole time.
Wow, that's I can definitely resonate with that a lot. I think that codependency, if you guys aren't aware, is basically you kind of lose your identity in somebody else and making them feel fulfilled and worthy. And it's not always that they make you feel worthy back. So you kind of lack in your own self worth and confidence by giving to someone else. And usually these people Not all of them are narcissists, but a lot of these people either are or they're also codependent. So they require the same thing you do, and they also don't feel whole without you. And a lot of people that are in recovery from addiction have that codependency trait that is inside them that has actually kind of caused them to end up in addiction. And I know that you guys might be out there not thinking that codependency was a part of your cycle. But if you are somebody who has been in relationships that was very one-sided, where you couldn't leave them, you were very clingy. You don't even have to be clingy. You could just be emotionally invested, and they weren't. Too much emotionally invested. You felt like how they felt about you mattered more than how you felt about yourself, and you don't really know how to love yourself without them. And I know that, like, I was in a lot of relationships. This is a huge part of my cycle. My cycles start with codependency and end with addiction. So it's kind of funny that we had this chat because that's something that I really have to work on personally. I don't know how to be alone. I've never been able to live alone. This is the first time I've actually lived without a man or been without a man, and I actually live with a female. So that is why I brought a girl in my house, so that I could take the time to work on my feminine energy and be more aware of my own self-love without being afraid or feeling like someone's going to hurt me because I'm alone, you know. I'm very paranoid, and I'm very needy. I always need someone to be next to me. I like someone in my bed. I like to know that if I need something, I have someone. So that I might be somebody who probably sucks the life out of other people at times. But no, I definitely feel like this is something that's very recovery related on all ends, because it's something that people don't even get the help for because they're too focused on addiction or alcoholism or gambling or sex. They don't realize that even that sex aspect can come from codependency. Like if you're very codependent and you're not dating someone and you feel like you need that connection, you might rely on sex in order to make ends meet, to make you feel that worth, because you don't have that when you're alone. So yeah,
and I love your description of that too, because you didn't one time mention enabling, and I know that that can be a part of codependency, but I oftentimes feel like that people just automatically assume that, oh, a codependent is somebody that enables an addict to abuse their substance, and
right.
and that's not, though that can be a part of it, and people can, express themselves that way. Maybe they're a people pleaser and they don't want to say no, and so they end up supporting, their substance use. And so that kind of was always my perception of what a codependent was. And it took me a long time to really own that, because I'm like, I'm not codependent. I don't enable their drug use. As a matter of fact, I'll be the first one to stand up and say, no, this is not okay. I'm going to call you out on this. So I just kind of wanted to bring that awareness to anybody else who may be a little bit confused as to what that codependency is. And I loved your description of that, because that is what it has been for me. It's like you're almost like you're loving and caring for someone else more than you are for yourself,
Right.
Which is almost like a paradox, because you really can't do that. You have to find it within yourself, and the way that kind of toxic cycle and pattern loops back is that you're going outside of yourself, caring and loving for this person, and kind of looking for them to feel your need for value and love. And so it kind of just perpetuates this pattern that until you have the awareness of that you're in that pattern, you really can't break it.
Right, and you're only enabling their issues as well, and that's something that I didn't realize. I always wondered why my exes weren't why they weren't aware of my needs. I always wondered why my needs weren't taken into consideration, but it was because I was always just giving, and never taking care of myself or creating healthy boundaries. I'm one that doesn't have healthy boundaries. Even if I want them, I don't know how to put them there. So that was something that was very hard on me. It's like I would expect things to be reciprocated, and they weren't. So, and the thing is, I had expectations, but also at the same time, I expected them to read my mind, and it was like just so many unhealthy things that went into my relationships that I would get really fed up and I would end up using. And that's how my use started. And this last go around with my last ex, I didn't end up, relapsing and doing all these things. I didn't end up on heroin, and it was really hard because I had to go through this sober, and I had to deal with it the way it was. And then I had a death. My sister died, and I didn't have that person to give me worth. I didn't have it. And I knew at that point, when I realized that support that I had needed all along has never been there, I realized I was strong and that I had been alone the whole time, and I'd really done this on my own. And I actually lost that need for him at that time. So her death got me out of my relationship. And it's really hard to say that, because I do still love him and I do care about him, and I really hope that he does okay. So if he's watching this, I do care about him immensely. I want him to do well. But I figured out in my heart that I'm only enabling his behavior, and he was only enabling my codependent behavior, and that us splitting apart and getting to love ourselves was the answer. So
yes, that's a healthy boundary. You were talking about healthy boundaries, and so in what I do, I'm working towards creating programs and whatnot to help people to come into their alignment with their truth and who they are. And that process involves healing. Whether it doesn't matter whether you're recovering from addiction or anything, we all have wounds. We all have programming things that, if you're living and breathing on this planet, you have some things going on, that are, probably not aligned with your true divine nature of who you are. And talking about setting those boundaries, I wanted to kind of speak to that, because I think that people get that even a little bit confused. Again, people start looking outside of themselves. Oh, boundaries. I need to block you. I need to put up a wall here, when actually to do that in a healthy way. So we always want to come back to within ourselves, because that's really where our truth is, and that's really where our power is, and that's really where we're going to create change. And so when I say boundaries, I'm not talking about blocks and walls. I'm talking about
open communication.
It all comes back to self-love. It can all be summarized. So what does self-love look like for you? Does that look like, sometimes I need to say no to someone? Sometimes I need to walk away from a situation or relationship, or, sometimes I need to, invest into some self-care. What does self-love look like to you? And as long as you're honoring yourself and you're loving yourself and you're doing what's in the highest good for you, I feel like that's automatically reciprocated to the collective, to humanity. When you're doing what is the best thing for you, you're doing what is best for everyone. And again, that awareness piece is really important, because if you're not very aware and you're telling yourself, oh, this is, I'm triggered by this person, so they must not be good for me, so I'm just going to run away from that situation. That's not always what's in the highest good. You need to have that awareness to know, are you lying to yourself? Or are you tricking yourself? Is this really a pattern or a belief system or something that you have going on that you need to look at and reevaluate and shift? And if you keep running away and you keep blocking that out, then you're not going to get the healing that you need. So that awareness is so important.
Yeah, it's definitely the first step. I think a lot of people don't even have that awareness, unfortunately. And here's the thing, though, someone like me, I have a very good sense of awareness, a very good sense of identification, but it's doing something about it is where I lack. And that's something that I would always go to counseling, and I feel like counseling isn't very in-depth in the recovery industry. So when people are good with identification, they think you've completed. And I know that sounds like a bad thing, but it's always when you say, okay, so this is where I lack, this is where I'm good, this is what I need to work on. The fact that you say that verbally to them, they think you're good. They look at you because you got to think, you spent between 1 and 6 months in a facility, you to get even to the point of identifying what you have to deal with and overcome is very big for them, because then they're handing you off to someone else to continue your treatment. And if you don't continue that treatment, that's where you have to take that a step further and see the things you have to do for yourself and do them, because now you don't have those people to stand by you. And I mean, even if you do go to counseling and you do see someone weekly or monthly, like I think everyone should. I think everyone should have someone they talk to and have a counselor. There's nothing wrong with it, but you have to be able to be open with them and have a good relationship with them, or it's worthless. Because I know I had counselors that I loved, adored, but I didn't feel comfortable enough to talk about the bad things. I would talk about, oh, I'm doing this is awesome, doing this, and then would leave out the parts. Like I remember talking about how awesome my life was while I was getting beat up every day, and not talking about that. I wasn't talking about the domestic violence. I was talking about how I was still doing great in recovery, and I'm still doing this, and I'm not talking about the depression and the suicidal ideations. All that stuff I would leave out because I thought, I got this, I'm good, I can take care of it myself. Not true. And that's where, like, sometimes our self-care and those boundaries we're talking about, a boundary is open communication. A boundary is saying, like, look, this is what I need for myself, this is where I need you to help me, and this is where the line is drawn on things that you may do that hurt me. And say that something, we can't always say that something that hurts us from someone else, that can be resolved. You can talk about it and it can be resolved, and you can come to a mutual understanding where that line has to be drawn without it being a problem or passive aggression or anything of that sort. So I like that people don't understand that boundaries don't always have to be blocking, someone on Facebook. You can say to somebody, listen, I don't like some of the things you post because they don't make me feel very good, so I'm just going to maybe unfollow you for a little while on this aspect and follow you on these posts so that I don't, because maybe it does trigger you. Or maybe it's something inside yourself that you have to overcome. The reason you might be triggered is because maybe something you haven't dealt with personally that needs to be resolved so that you can deal with this in the future, because not everybody can accommodate how you feel, So it goes both ways, We have to definitely make room for relationships and know where the risk and reward definitely weighs itself out evenly.
Right. And I will say that from my perspective and from, the kind of the foundation of the program that I'm creating, I feel that any time that you are triggered, that is an indicator that you have something that you need to work on. And as long as we point our finger outside of ourselves and say, oh, this is your fault, you made me angry, you made me sad, you made me feel this way, and it's your fault. Nobody can really make you do or feel anything. People do things that trigger something that's already in there.
Right.
So because when you don't have an attachment to their opinion or their views or their feelings or whatever, then you're at this place of neutrality. But when you have an attachment, you definitely do. When you have that trigger, it's an indicator, that something is going on. And so, like, that's the point. That's your awareness. That's where that awareness piece comes in. So if you can stop right there and you can go, oh, wait a minute. Now I can see I have something going on. And then what you were talking about, you're basically talking about, it doesn't stop there. Like, there's a process. You have to continue moving forward. And so that is where you go beyond the awareness. So in my program, it kind of phased out as like a three tiers of transformation is kind of what I call it. And that first step, that first tier, or that first column, if you will, is the awareness. And then you move into, when you can see what's happening, then you can move into acceptance. And acceptance is very, very powerful. When you have the awareness, you become teachable. When you have the acceptance of what's going on, then that's your willingness. That's your willingness to change. And so the way that I see acceptance working is you can kind of look at that as non-judgment, neutrality, non-judgment. So you go, okay, I was triggered by this, I observed the situation and I suddenly got very jealous,
Yeah.
or I got, really angry, or I got really anxious and really fearful. Then most of the time we want to block it. We want to push it away. We want to stuff it. We want to medicate. We want to do anything to numb it, to make it go away.
Right.
And as long as we do that and we stay in that pattern, then we're not going to heal what's really going on. So we have to, when we have that awareness, we have that trigger, then we have to move into that space of non-judgment acceptance. And that's going, okay, I see, I recognize what's happening, and I am not going to judge myself for it. I'm going to accept where I am. I'm going to accept this anger. I'm going to accept this fear. I'm going to accept this jealousy, or whatever that emotion may be. And I'm going to kind of sit with it. And I'm not going to project it. I'm not going to judge it and stuff it. And then you can move in. When you come to that place of acceptance and non-judgment, it's not bad, it's not wrong. These are your emotions telling you that something is just not in alignment, with your highest state, your state of peace and your state of wholeness. So it's you can kind of look at it. I mean, you can actually bring in gratitude for it and say, okay, now that I'm aware and now that I'm accepting it, I can move into the third phase, which is allowance, and that allowance is really where the transformation happens, when you can actually bring in love and compassion for that. That's where the energy starts to transmute. So it's no longer, when you are in that state and you're accepting that and you're owning that and you're not running from it, and you're not judging it, and you're there with it. And then you can bring into that space love for yourself, love for whoever else maybe triggered you, that you were upset by, and the compassion, like, well, I feel this way because when I was 3 years old, my dad abandoned me or rejected me or hurt me or whatever the case may be. And you can like bring the compassionate. And so when you do bring these higher vibrational energies into that space where you are of accepting what you is not preferred, which is uncomfortable, then you kind of like transmute that energy into wholeness, into something that is comfortable, into something that is, true and aligned for who you are. And that is kind of the foundation of, the program that I'm working to create, and the three components of distortion that I feel that kind of really gets people kind of hung up and prevents them from moving forward is fear and judgment and attachment. Those are three like core distortions, if you will,
Right.
that keep people bound up in their patterns. And so when you can identify too with that awareness that, oh, okay, yeah, I'm falling into fear here, or I'm really attached to like the outcome and how they're good. So as far as like the codependency thing, that attachment piece is huge. You become very attached to how these people in your life that you have this pattern and this cycle with, how they're going to treat you and how they're going to behave and how they're going to respond. And you have to really release and move and transmute that. You have to come to this place of releasing attachment. So again, it all comes back to letting go of everything that's kind of going on externally and coming back and evaluating it internally.
Right. And I think that's an amazing program. I can see it almost kind of relates to the 12 steps in a way, but at the same time it's like your own spiritual version of it. And I love that because for example, something that gets me. So since my sister passed away, if I hear people talk about their sisters, it kind of evokes this jealousy slash sadness inside me. And I heard a girl one day talk about, oh, I hate my sister, wish I could get the hell away from her, she's so annoying. And I heard her talking about her, and like, immediately I was enraged. Like, I was like, it was such an irrational emotion for me to feel, because I knew immediately that it was irrational. And I knew, like, I had already taken myself outside myself and judged it from an outside perspective. Like, obviously this girl is a sibling and she is talking about her sister just like yours, what about you? So after I had acknowledged that I was enraged for the reason that my sister is dead, I went further on to, I started to feel really jealous that I couldn't say that my sister was annoying. I started to feel jealous that I didn't have a sibling, and my brain started to go back to like us at that age, in our late teens, and how we reacted towards each other and how normal it is. And I said to this girl, I just spit out like, "Oh, be lucky you have her," and I walked away. And I remember thinking, like, okay, calm down. And, like, I had to stop, like, assess the situation, even my jealousy, like, how much, and just kind of feel how much I missed her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like I stuff it down quite a lot. I have for a while. People always tell me that I was really robotic about it because, like, I ran her memorial and I was very, very, I was very passionate, but at the same time, like, they were like, how is she up there speaking for 45 minutes without, like, dousing herself in tears, And it was just something that I am very good at stuffing things down that hurt me immensely and making them seem like they're very small when they're actually very large and very enormous over how I act and how I, envision life and people and the world. So in those situations, I learn now to step out of myself, let myself feel the emotions for a few minutes, let it kind of resonate with me, understand why I'm feeling it, kind of have the talk with myself internally, like, she's still with you, she's just not here. We all are going to pass away at some point. They're not always going to have their sister forever. They'll be happy and thankful that that person still has their sibling, and be happy that, they get that time with them, because just like you did with yours, we have our turn, we have our time. And it's it's like I get into those thoughts, and then I'm accepting of it, and I move forward. And that's where, like, it's a smaller scale, but I understand with what you're saying, like, it kind of goes into that, like the acceptance, and then the love for other people and for humanity, and just being able to say I had a sister and she did exist and she was a part of my life. So
so in doing that, and you're shifting your thoughts. So that's very powerful, because perception is really everything. I mean, we are creating a reality by our thoughts.
Our thoughts are reality. Yeah, the frequency of them.
Exactly. So when you find yourself having thoughts and focusing on a reality that you don't want, like, I've lost my sister, I'm never going to have this, I'm not going to have this. And then you shift that to gratitude, for the time that you did have, and, the experiences that you're having because of, losing her. What have you gained from that? Like, how has that transformed you in a positive way? And so you're shifting your reality there. And then when you can, kind of shift your thoughts, but also bring in an emotion, that was the transformation, transmutation aspect of it, which is the allowance, that third phase, when you can actually bring in emotion of gratitude and of love. That is where the energy is coming in, and it's starting to shift. So all of it, because we're a whole being. I mean, we have mind, and we have, spirit energy, and, our physicality. And so my program too is all encompassing of all of that, even down to, I'm working with a nutritionist and an herbalist, and working with, energy coaches, and somebody who creates binaural beats for sound healing.
I love them. I listen to them all the time. Because we are free. You have to think, like, just like you talked about negative frequencies, and we have to bring ourselves up. It's kind of like my opinion on like when we pass away, right? So they say if we live a higher frequency life, then we're more quicker to transition into a higher frequency after death. Just like if we stay on a lower frequency, they say that that's what brings on ghosts and so forth, like people that stay and linger a little while before they transcend, and they say it has to do with the frequencies, right? So it's kind of like what you're saying, like all these, anything that's negative, anything that causes upsetting emotions and things that obviously feel heavy on us. Those are what keep us more weighed down to our physical self. It's what keeps us here, keeps us weighed into things that aren't really there because we've made them there. And that's where like when we start to become more freer and release ourselves when we get into like a better spiritual place mentally, physically, all over. And it is our all over health. You got to think we focus on mental health so much that we almost forget to focus on physical health. We forget to focus on spiritual health, faith. We forget about those things, and they all come together to make one. Just as someone who we talk about body and image and self-acceptance, yes, you can accept that you're overweight or underweight, but at the same time, you have to be able to be willing to be healthy as well, while accepting body image and what you need to do in order to get to a better state of health. So
you're using all these keywords, willingness and acceptance.
I've had a lot of counseling.
And these are energies. Those are energies. Acceptance, that's an energy. Willingness, that's an energy. So everything that we're talking about, everything we experience in our existence here in this reality, it's all energy. And so essentially that is the program that I'm creating, is this kind of holistic, mind, body, spirit, learning self-mastery, energy self-mastery. And so it was interesting. You said it's kind of like 12 steps, because here's the really cool thing is when I kind of started getting downloads, like the universal downloads for this program, it is kind of based on the 12 universal laws.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So you were kind of already picking up on that. So that was really cool.
Yeah, isn't it weird? I love these conversations because they're so like they flow so naturally, and they're so like, people, oh my God, there's just so many blocks with like communication with people, and like to find people that are on the same page with these types of things is like a very like unique and awesome thing for me. So it's like it just flows so naturally, because I think that is the truth about the universe, is that the universe is all encompassing. It is the truth, frequencies, all those things. I think that the people that understand that and are open to it, that can see it for what it is, it's like, it's nice to be it's nice to be on that level with somebody sometimes. But that's
and we attracted each other, and something within our energy kind of resonated with each other, and we attracted each other into our reality. And that was something else that I wanted to talk about, is that a lot of times when people, I mean really all the time, because we are creating our external reality, so we start seeing patterns of well, I'm always having issues with, relationships, and I'm always having issues with money, and I'm always having issues with this. And it's like, well, this is to be expected, because this is just how my life works. It's just always going to hell. Well, it's because you're looping in patterns. You're looping in thought patterns. You're looping in energetic patterns based on your belief systems. And also, generationally, because epigenetics research even shows that we store memory in our cells for up to 14 generations. So it's like, well, I don't recall ever, experiencing trauma. Well, you maybe didn't recall that, or maybe you haven't personally, but if your ancestors did, well, it's been passed on into your DNA. And we're all recovering. And I feel like we're kind of like in this great awakening where people are starting to wake up and they're starting to get that awareness.
Yeah.
And so what I want to kind of really say and encourage people with is that you can change your reality. Like, especially when people have been looping in, addiction, substance abuse. I mean, these are all patterns, and it can be broken, and you can change your life. and you can change your experience, you can change your reality. It doesn't have to you don't have to maintain this mindset that, what's the point? It's just, I'm going to run into another problem. If I fix this problem, here comes another problem. We can really shift and change our perception and our reality that we're experiencing.
Oh, it's beautiful, girl. I love how much insight you have. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love to hear it because I just think it's such a magical thing to know that we really do have power and that we actually aren't powerless. Like, I know that when I did the steps, we admit that we're powerless over our addiction and we move forward. That's a part of the steps of the 12 steps of NA and AA. So I came to the conclusion over time that by being powerless, we do have power, and that once we give up the power, like our own power with that drug, we create a willingness that gives us our power back. And that's what people don't understand, is like once you're willing to let go of letting that drug or that problem control you, and you're willing to deal with it and move on from it, you take the power back in your own way, and basically everything around you and all the love and everything that's meant for you can come in and can align with you. And we have these blocks. It's almost like we have these obstacles in front of us that keep us from the path that we're meant to be on. Some of us help us to get to our path, and some of us take away from our path. So it's like everything we do either goes one way or the other. At least for me, I feel like everything I do, if it gives me anxiety, if it makes me depressed, if it gives me any type of emotion that starts to make me feel like I question it, then it doesn't align with what I'm supposed to be doing. Because a lot of things, like I heard Russell Brand say this once, things that give us anxiety do not align with our path, and that's why they give us anxiety. It's like our higher self trying to convey to us that it's not meant for us and it's not good for us, or that something inside us has to be changed for us to deal with that specific situation. So like hearing that, I'm like, oh my God, it makes sense, because a lot of the things that used to give me anxiety were like things that I felt uncomfortable in. If I was in a setting with like school and all these people everywhere and not feeling like I fit in, it was because that was an insecurity problem within myself that gave me anxiety. But at home, I didn't feel that way because I wasn't around all those people. And it's like even the perception of like maybe I wasn't the type of child or person to like align with the views of people that taught us, like our teachers and all that. They have a curriculum. It's just what they're told to teach, and they teach it. I never like fed into it. It didn't work for me. It wasn't what I wanted to learn. I didn't want to learn about these basic things that don't, accentuate my creativity. I was into art. I was into making things, writing, being able to express myself and being able to put things out into the world that I needed to get out there. So for me, that wasn't really, I like that they're doing more things in school. I know it's kind of off topic, but they're taking children and they're actually starting to accentuate like what they're good at, and that's more aligning them with their path. And that's really important, because when you treat everyone the same, we're different. We're all different, but we're all the same in one way. So it's really, really hard, because we have to treat everyone kind of the same and lovingly, and like basically how we do want to be treated, we should treat other people. I do believe in the golden rule, very much so. But at the same time, we also have to like understand we are different, and that we deal with things different and have different things holding us down. And that the thing with the history with our cells and all that, that is so crazy to me. Like I read that thing where like your cells can change, and if you take a donor cell and go like 60 miles away, it changes the same exact way the donor cell does based off emotion. So like emotion actually changes the material world. Do you know how insane that is? We're sitting here denying spirituality, which is what I don't understand. Why do we deny these things when they're right in front of us, plain as sight, But
and what you were saying about the power, you acknowledge you're powerless. Well, I love that you brought that up, because it goes back to what I was saying before, that what you're doing is you're surrendering to try to control from the external. That's what you're saying, okay, I'm powerless at trying to control you and this and that. I'm powerless against this substance. I'm powerless against this thing outside of myself. However, I come inside, and that's where my power is. And the awesome thing about the way the universe works, because we are powerful, we are creators, and we are creating our reality. when you let go of that and you release and you surrender to the external and you come internal, you actually connect with source, you connect with your higher power, you connect with yourself. And that is where you gain your power. And that, so it is both. It's like, you release, you let go to gain.
Right. It's amazing. And I
And
mean,
what you
it's
were
a
saying
lot.
about the anxiety is, anything that kind of makes you feel uncomfortable or off center like that, just as an indicator that it's not aligned for you. And I 100% agree with that. You can check with yourself to see what is in alignment for you. But where, I caution people is back to that, just automatically assuming that because you're feeling uncomfortable that you should run away or you should, stuff that. No, that's where you should have the awareness and go, okay, well, why am I feeling this way? What do I need to do? It doesn't mean I need to run away from the situation or run away from
dealing with it head on might be right.
Exactly. And sometimes that may be what it is. That may be exactly what it is. You walk into a situation, you're like, this isn't a good environment for me, so I'm just going to leave. That very well may be the case. For you were talking about you had anxiety being in class. Not going to class probably wasn't the solution.
Right, right.
That was more you going within yourself and figuring out where this anxiety was coming from and addressing it internally. So that's where the awareness piece comes in.
All right, Brittany. Well, I want you, before we get going here, to tell the crowd about what you think are really good coping mechanisms and what has worked for you. If you have any activities or things they could write out or anything like that, for somebody who wants to start to basically work on themselves, this is where I would give that advice.
Absolutely. So I'll just kind of recap with what I said about bringing the awareness to it. I think that's really critical. So if you're kind of feeling triggered, then take some time, sit with that. Don't try to push it away. Accept it without judgment. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't judge the emotion as good or bad. I mean, it just is what it is, and it's a part of you, and it's something that's coming up, and it's giving you a message. So listen to it and accept that message, and then move into that place of allowance. Allow that energy to shift. So allow it through changing your perception, changing your thoughts, like you did with your sister. And try to bring in these higher vibrations of compassion or love, if you can do that. And you may not be able to do that right away. So I also wanted to say that healing is a process. And just because you're like, okay, well, I sat with myself and, I told myself these things and, I brought in some compassion, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're never going to experience that feeling again, that you're never going to experience that trigger again. Because it's my personal belief that we heal in layers, kind of like an onion. So when we embark on this journey of self-awareness and healing, if we were to just like dive into the core of our wound, like from Jump Street, we probably would not be able to handle that. Like that would be so overwhelming.
A lot.
That's a lot. So we heal in layers, and every time you're triggered and every time something comes up, then you just go through that practice of awareness, acceptance, allowance. And some of the other things that I do is, finding joy, finding gratitude is so huge. And creativity, self-expression. I find very therapeutic. So whatever you can do to express yourself and be creative. So like I like to write, and
I love reading.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that I was a creative writer until I really started like going within. And so, sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed with these emotions and I'm sitting with it and I'm accepting it, I may write. Sometimes I need to move the energy. because it's just a lot.
Heavy, right? It's heavy. You got to get it off.
Yeah, so sometimes moving is really therapeutic. So what, like go for a run or
Yeah.
dancing. I like to dance. So those are kind of some of the other strategies that I personally use.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, I know exercise is great too. Um, yeah, definitely. You have a lot of good strategies. I think your program is definitely amazing. So what do you do? Like, what is your job now, and like, what does your kind of like home life look like right now? If you want to add to it, what does your life right now look like as a whole?
Yeah, so it's kind of it's all shifting right now.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Kind of speaking on the spirituality aspect, because I have personally, okay, so I'm going through my own program. That is how I'm creating this program, is
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through it myself. And it's all very intuitive. And I do have, some people that I'm aligned with, and I have an energetic coach and a mentor, and we are collaborating on this. So it's really cool how all this is developing. And so I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time on self-care. I spent a lot of time on myself, on my healing journey. That because that's really my focus, and that's really my priority is my own healing and recovery, and then my service back to humanity, to be able to take what I'm doing, what I feel the universe is showing me, and revealing to me, that I can take and kind of break that down into systematic steps and phases for other people to be able to use. So I'm doing that. That takes up a lot of my time. I'm an entrepreneur, so I have some other things that I'm doing as well. I have an online store. So we were talking about how important the physical is as well. So I think what you expose your body to, chemical
Yeah.
wise, and choosing like more conscious, healthy, eco-friendly products and things
Yep.
like that. So that's really important to me, and I think that ties into my program. So I do have an online store where I promote and sell, kind of health and wellness products. CBD hemp oil is a
What
big.
What is your store called?
It's ecoexchange.shop.
Wow.
Yeah. And
So
so my vision for that is to create this. It's not a very large store right now. Like I said, it's mainly hemp, CBD oils and stuff, and body care that I'm featuring. But the vision for it is very expansive. I want it to be a sustainability platform where people can come and shop for multiple types of products and even services. So you want to get your house painted or something, and that you want to find a painter that uses non-toxic, paints and eco-friendly practices and things like that. So that's really the vision that I have for that, is the sustainability platform that focuses on personal, environmental, and social wellness. So that is also what I do, and I have 2 kids that I take care of, and I'm in the process of moving, so that's taken up a lot of time. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. So I'm multitasking a lot of different things, and I have a lot of different ideas and a lot of vision.
I just like, I mean, okay, so like just talking to you, like it made me think we should definitely work on like a healing book, like a workbook, and we should call it My Healing Process or like My Healing Journey. And I just like thought about this now, like I want to like start, we should make like a workbook. I think that'd be a great idea. And we could actually base it off of your step process. So like each like it'll be like divided into 3 full chapters, and like it'll go through each one. I think it's a great idea. Anyways, so that's later. We'll talk about that. All right.
I
So
didn't even mention to you. I mean, I mentioned to you the different, like the awareness, the acceptance, and the allowance piece, but I didn't tell you that the whole thing is kind of based on well, 3 phases, which additionally, so I'm working with this number energy too. So this
yeah,
pattern, and
numerology and that and the numbers and all that. Yeah.
so like I said, this is all like intuitive, like coming from the universe. So The 3 phases for this program are detoxification. So we're talking about mind, body, spirit, right?
Yeah.
All of this. Detoxification. The second phase is integration. We start integrating in the new concepts and new beliefs and new energy. And then the third phase is acceleration, where you're really starting to move into like really being aligned with who you are and your mission and your purpose. So when you said like the divided into like 3 chapters, it was like, yeah, that would totally work because that's what we're doing. And I kind of see it as a 90-day program.
Yeah, I do too. And I even think like even if it wouldn't even have to be like a book. It could even be like maybe a program where like it's almost kind of like a guidance program. We could use like a workbook as like guidance to get through it. And I mean, you could even market this yourself as like how you would help people, because you could turn this into something, I hate the word market, but you could turn this into like something where you actually share your program with other people, and that you could help people and guide them through it. And you know what I mean? They could actually come into this as another option for someone who's suffering with codependency or other issues, or even just internal issues that they want to take care of. Because it's not all about recovery from addiction or even just codependency. We have to recover from like mental health, so many different things. And I think that's a really great idea. So I'm glad you came on today, and I'm definitely going to have you on again. If you guys want to talk to her, she is online. Her name is Brittany Lynch. If you feel like you align with what she has to say and you just love it and you want to talk to her and you need some advice, she's a very, very good, loving person to speak with, very non-judgmental and very neutral. And I know that I can be busy and all over the place and tired and a mess. So I know I don't always get back to everybody right on time. So if you don't have me, there are a lot of other people you can reach out to. She is one of them. And I thank you for having you on today. Definitely, you should go on that feminist group. I'll add you as an admin. You can post some stuff on there too. But yeah, so thank you for being on. Is there anything else you want to say before I log you off?
Yeah, if you anybody that wants to befriend me, send me a friend request on Facebook, Brittany Lynch, BrittanyLynch. And I also do have a business page, which is Intuitive Alignment Mentor.
Wow, that's awesome. You're doing so many cool things. I really love it. I do. I think it's so hard because there's not many options in this area. I like it. But all right, girl. Well, thank you. I'm glad I had you on. I'm glad I got to share your information and some of your story. I will definitely do a little more in depth on your story, because I know we didn't really get to all about you, but we definitely got a lot out there for people to hear. Thank you for your insight. All right, guys. Thank you. That was Brittany. I'll see you later. If you want to be on the show or you want to be interviewed, just hit me up. We'll try to do it via Skype. When it gets a little warmer, I'll travel out and get some in-person videos, okay? All right. Bye, everybody. I don't know how to hit stop record. Hang on. Stop recording. Stop recording. Stop recording.